This new generation of young conservatives is more far-right, more religious, and more angry than their predecessors. This is a train that doesn't stop running after Kirk's death. In fact, I think that it only rolls faster.
When Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah in front of several thousand people, the Republican Party didn't just lose any political activist. To many, 31-year-old Kirk was the young, appealing face of modern conservatism.
Kirk has a lot of influence on the right, mostly coming from his nationwide network of college campus activist organizations. It's called Turning Point USA. Donald Trump credited him with giving him his second term.
Charlie Kirk was without a doubt among the most influential figures in the most important election in the history of our country.
But what is the legacy that Charlie Kirk leaves behind? What is the vacuum of power left in his wake?
Charlie Kirk founded Turning Point USA in 2012, and the organization has since grown to include 3,500 high school and collegiate chapters whose mission is to promote conservative politics. TPUSA says it stands for patriotism, respect for life, and liberty. But in practice, those values aren't for everyone.
I think that monogamous heterosexual marriage should be a prerequisite to adoption. America has freedom of religion, of course. But we should be frank. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America.
To be fair, Turning Point USA is kind of a good thing on its face. It gets college students activated, it brings them together, and it helps conservatives push their message into schools. But in reality, Turning Point USA is funded by GOP special interests. He used Turning Point USA to push far-right ideology and Christian ideology into schools across the nation.
One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
Tax records show Turning Point raised nearly $400 million between 2012 and 2023.
Their war chest of money, which hundreds of millions of dollars, comes from a host of right-wing special interests and billionaires who want to upend American public education, remove any leftist ideology and history that they deem unsavory. It's not just Turning Point USA that's doing this. People like Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, Texas public schools, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas have worked to remove what they deem woke ideology from textbooks.
What you see now with the rise of this woke ideology is an attempt to really delegitimize our history and to delegitimize our institutions.
They are banning books that describe LGBTQ causes. They are removing and replacing Black history and whitewashing America's relationship with slavery and a host of other things they deem bad.
Thanks to the Civil Rights Act, if you have white skin color, it's much harder to get into a college than if someone has black skin color, much harder.
Turning Point USA is the tip of the spear in a wider GOP plot to upend American public education, replace it with a more privatized, more Christian, more right-wing rule book, and they are succeeding.
In Texas, Republican state lawmakers passed a bill that requires public schools to display the Ten Commandments.
At the committee hearing for this bill, you said that students should see the Ten Commandments in their classroom and remember, quote, God is watching. Is that correct?
What? I do not recall that.
What Turning Point represents is essentially a propaganda and recruiting tool for the GOP to use on generations of young voters, whether they control the government or not at the time. Kirk put a young face on what is effectively the rantings of a Reagan-era conservative radio host.
She said, God has blessed you with an amazing voice, and you will be the Rush Limbaugh of your generation.
The formula for making you, the viewer or the listener mad, hasn't changed a bit, yet people keep falling for it.
Turning Point also preaches some archaic and backward conservative values, especially when it comes to LGBTQ and women's rights. That includes what the right-wing movements call venerating the housewife.
Getting married and having children is a values-based decision, and women have to stop thinking about themselves all the time. Me, me, me. My body, my choice, my decision.
The irony is hard to miss. Weeks after Charlie Kirk's brutal murder, his wife, Erika Kirk, was named as Turning Point USA's new CEO and chair of the board.
Erika Kirk taking over really speaks to the hypocrisy of everything she and Charlie Kirk have stood for. She's really only leaned into the motherhood and childbearing part of things, and really talked to young women, encouraging them to prioritize having kids and starting a family over their careers. Throughout her marriage, she has had a career. She has had a podcast, she's had a clothing line, she's had other ventures, she has multiple degrees. And apparently this worked fine for them, even though publicly she's been saying the opposite, saying things like a woman's main job is to be a, quote, helpmate to her husband.
In an address to Charlie Kirk show viewers just days after her husband's murder, Erika Kirk made it clear that Turning Point's message would continue with a renewed zeal.
But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
A grieving widow is a powerful symbol, and Erika Kirk has proven she knows how to wield her influence.
He wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Charlie Kirk's widow taking over is probably going to make it really hard for people to criticize anything coming out of Turning Point USA, at least for a while, without fear of repercussions. People who've criticized Charlie Kirk are being doxxed, they are being fired, they're being taken off the air. I think it's reasonable for anyone criticizing Erika Kirk to fear the same.
Turning Point claims it received around 120,000 inquiries for new chapters after Charlie Kirk's nationally televised memorial on September 21st.
If the assassination of Charlie Kirk was meant to thwart his influence, it seems to have had the exact opposite effect. Donald Trump and his administration have turned Charlie Kirk into a martyr.
Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died.
Trump awarded Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, on what would have been his 32nd birthday.
His followers are growing by the day, and they are celebrating Kirk's memory by, for example, signing up young conservatives to vote at his memorial service, which was full of fireworks and tearful monologues from the Trump administration and right-wing carnival barkers from across the country. This death will be used for some time as an example of an attack on Christian ideology.
I created the first ever Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. And we're bringing religion back to our country.
This death is being used to further that ideology and crystallize it into something that will last beyond Kirk and Trump. This is a well-funded, well-operating machine that was here before Charlie Kirk and will continue on after.
Charlie had a plan moving past 2030 that he's shared with the team and has implemented. So we're not going anywhere.
We have the blueprints.
We have the blueprints. We have our marching orders.
Before Turning Point USA, we might not have seen Gen Z and young men latch on to crusty old GOP politics. But now you have campuses across the country ready to carry on that mantle. And the GOP's efforts after Kirk's death involve getting to those kids younger and younger. This is a train that doesn't stop running after Kirk's death. In fact, I think that it only rolls faster.